there's been little reprieve for residents on the mid-north coast and in the Northern Rivers region.
We've just spent the last 3 weeks sort of getting it ready to be livable again. It was only the other day that we come back in.
27,000 people again subject to evacuation orders, just weeks after the devastating floods first struck the communities.
It's a real struggle for everybody because just as you start to gain hope and start to rebuild, you get knocked down again.
I think there's a difference this time because people have been knocked down twice. So I think the hope in people's eyes has faded.
The fast-changing weather making recovery almost impossible. The Wilson River levee breached just 24 hours after authorities gave the all clear for people to return to the Lismore CBD.
We do not have the joy of hindsight when predicting whether or not to lift those warnings. And at that point in time, it is still my belief that that call was the right call to make.
Some experts have warned that climate change-induced temperatures may reduce our ability to predict extreme weather events. But the Bureau of Meteorology says that overall, its forecasting has actually improved. So why do these emergencies keep taking us by surprise?
Well, Janette Lindesay is Professor of Climatology at the ANU and she joins us now. We've obviously failed to predict the 2 most recent flooding events in and around Lismore. What went wrong?
Well, I think it's not quite fair to say we failed to predict them. What really, I think, is the problem is that while we can predict the weather systems with reasonable accuracy that they're going to occur, what's difficult is to know exactly where it's going to rain and exactly how much. And that's something that's very difficult to do. And so we don't really know whether it's going to rain a great deal in the catchment that's going to then affect Lismore, or whether the rain's going to fall just outside the catchment. And our accuracy, of course, improves the closer and closer we get to the event actually happening. And unfortunately, that's how it is. Weather forecasting works well to predict the occurrence of a system. But then just how much rain and exactly where, that's something that we're really not able to do with precision at this stage.
Janette, we keep on hearing about these 1 in 500 flood events or 1 in a 100-year flood events, and it feels like we've had about 3 in the last 6 months. Is the measuring system wrong, or has the climate completely lost the plot?
Well, there's no doubt that the climate is changing. It's been changing for more than 100 years already due to human activities. And so that's definitely going on, and we're in the midst of it, and we're really starting to see the pointy end of the impacts. But having said that, I think what's not wrong is the measure, but what perhaps is at fault is the understanding of what that actually means. When you say a 1 in 500-year event or a 1 in 1,000-year event, it doesn't mean you're only going to get 1 every 500 years or 1 every 1,000 years. It's actually a probability, so it means there's a 0.2% chance of getting an event of that severity at any time. So the assignation of the 1 in 500-year and 1 in 1,000-year events to the Lismore floods, that was based on, I think, reporting that was done around 2014 or so. Now, there's been a few years since then. There's been a lot happen. And those have to be constantly updated so that they better reflect our changed circumstances. We're living in a new environment.
Janette, we spend a lot of time trying to predict how the land responds to extreme weather. Is there something to be said for reconnecting with the local Indigenous nations and trying to farm their knowledge as to how best to respond to these terrible events?
That's an excellent point and an excellent question. There's, as you'd be well aware, there are tens of thousands of years of Indigenous history that are captured in Indigenous knowledge, and I think we would be very well served and are very well served by engaging much more directly with that knowledge and with Indigenous knowing about place. Let's look at what is known, what has been passed down from generation to generation, and learn from that knowledge about how to manage the land and the environment to the best of our ability, in combination with our modern scientific understanding and Indigenous knowledge. I think it's an extremely fruitful way to go forward.
Janette, thank you very much for your time tonight. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.